It's that time of year again, Halloween season. On Blood and Black Rum podcast, we take this very seriously. So we're going back to the basics with what we're calling Halloweenies 2. Movies that take place on or around Halloween. Your favorites like Hocus Pocus, Ernest Scared Stupid, Terrifier, and more. Tune in all September and October as we smash jack-o'-lanterns and Oktoberfest in equal fashion.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Blood and Black Rum podcast. I'm Ryan from ColdExploitation.com, and I'm joined with my co-host Mark.
How's it going?
Doing well. We got 1 week to spooky season ending, unfortunately. I hate that. I hate when Halloween is coming to a close. And actually to the point where on Halloween, trick-or-treat always feels a little bit melancholy to me because I know that once it's over for another year. So this is the last episode of Halloweenies, unfortunately. We've run our course here. I think this may be the longest Halloween season that we've done as well, at 9 episodes. I think that's the longest one, because normally you don't get that many weeks in the September-October season. So,
but we got an extra this year. So
got an extra one, and it was an October 13th one as well, Friday the 13th,
and we didn't do it.
No, we didn't. We didn't cover any Friday the 13th.
We didn't bother.
You know what though? That's okay, because we will eventually run out of them. So we have to disperse them.
That's what you think. Now that Blumhouse doesn't own the rights to Halloween, they got things they need to do. They're going to be in talks with New Line. Get us some fucking movies.
Yeah, I mean, if they can follow up.
Wait a second.
With what's that?
So if Miramax owns Halloween, so that means we're going to get our Jason and Michael Myers crossover finally, because I think New Line's owned by Miramax too.
I don't know. The rights are so messed up with the Friday the 13th franchise. Who knows? Could be anything. I don't know. But yeah, we are for Halloweenies today. We're ending our season with another movie that technically doesn't take place on Halloween, even though that's what the Halloweenies series is supposed to be about, movies that take place on Halloween. This one does not. But still, it's close enough where we decided, you know what? Let's do it anyway. It works. It's not necessarily exactly a Halloween movie, but it's adjacent to it, and so I think that is enough for us to get by with calling it a Halloweenies episode. And this one, I think, as you has stated, and when you basically said, "Fuck it, let's do it anyway."
Pull Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah, exactly. It's the actual, like, the series itself, the franchise of it puts it squarely into the Halloween mindset. So you can get away with it, even if none of them technically take place on Halloween. And so this actually, the franchise itself is near and dear to my heart, because it is probably the first horror books that I started to read way back when I was like probably, I don't even know, 8 years old, 9. How old are you when you start reading chapter books? I don't know, 8, 9, something like that. But I remember I want to say it was in Kmart. And I was looking at the book section, and I saw this paperback book calling to me, The Werewolf of Fever Swamp. The cover was just something that I loved. It reminded me of VHS covers from my dad's VHS store, and so that was really the reason why I decided that I wanted to get this book. So I brought it over to my mom, and I was like, "Hey, Mom, we should get this." And she's like, "All right, yeah, looks good. We'll get you reading, I guess." So that's pretty much where it came from. And then all those years later, no, not even years later, but probably like months later, you and I think, started pulling those books into a bathtub. Was it 8? I don't know. I don't know the exact age. I can't pinpoint.
I think we were younger than that.
Yeah, could have been younger.
Like first grade. So
yeah. So yeah, that was a fun start to our friendship of basically just taking my whole big stack of Goosebumps books and throwing them into the bathtub.
Your dad, which likes to always bring it up, like, hey, remember you put the box in the bathtub.
Yeah, they love that. They're like, what were you guys doing? They're like, I don't know. We were fucking 6 years old. I don't know. Yeah, who knows the reasons why we wanted to bring them to the bathtub? We just did.
Destroying them so we could buy more. We need more Scholastic books.
So at that time, were you a Goosebumps reader as well?
Yes.
You were?
Oh, yeah. I vividly remember, always every time we had a nice Scholastic book fair, going and buying a new book or two. I had probably 15 of them. Mm-hmm. As I was going through R.L. Stine's bibliography from those days, there's a good deal of them. And it's like, I do remember that. And then some of them, it's like, I don't remember that. I don't remember Monster Blood 4. We got up that far?
Yeah, I mean, after a while, they started to, I don't know, I fell off of it. But when these books came out, we were pretty much right in their heyday. So The Werewolf of Fever Swamp came out in December 1993. So when I found it, I had to have been a little bit older. It had to have been probably 95, maybe, I'm going to guess. Something, 95, 96. But regardless, we were right there in the heyday. Of course, we didn't start reading the original books in 1992 when it first started being published, but we were right there. And
the show, I was saying, the TV show was coming out in 95 too, so that was...
Yeah. Yes, and that was another big thing as well, because my dad still had the VHS store at that time, and we did get those in. We got the first episodes of the Goosebumps in on VHS tape as well. We got The Haunted Mask,
yep,
Night in Terror Tower, and one other one. I'm not sure why I'm drawing a blank on Don't Go in the Basement. Those were the 3 that came out on VHS, and because at that time too, they were playing them on TV, and I believe they were Canadian co-productions. So they, for whatever reason, they released those 3 on VHS as special releases, and I believe I still have them, or my dad has them at the house, because I used to watch The Haunted Mask all the time.
Oh, me too. You couldn't in October in the mid '90s, flip through the channels without that
Absolutely.
Did you ever get to the Choose Your Own Adventure ones?
Oh yeah. I did read some of the Choose Your Own Adventures. I feel when I started dropping back off, like you said, Monster Blood 4, definitely don't remember getting to that one. I think the furthest well, you know what though? Some of these do look familiar, so maybe I did follow all the way through. Because I do remember at the time when the blob that ate everyone and
Curses of Camp Cold Lake.
Yep, those ones were coming out, and I was kind of falling off the Goosebumps bandwagon at that point. I think I got up to Werewolf Skin. I do remember having that one as well, and at that point I was kind of all right, and I kind of moved on. I think I did read some of the other ones in the series, the new series that came out after as well. And you got to give R.L. Stine credit too, because this man pretty much devoted his entire writing career to just fucking ripping out new Goosebumps and Fear Street books pretty much every month for a good chunk of his life. Just fucking constantly writing them.
It makes you wonder, though. Really does.
Makes you wonder what?
How good could they have been?
Well, I think that's
like in my head, I know for writing it's different, but there's so many authors that do that, they're just pumping out 2 books a year or whatever, and like Dean Koontz or something. And I know there's some ghostwriting involved and stuff, but Stine still, it's like, how? Like, you just sit there and you just,
Yeah, I mean, I think to some extent, R.L. Stine was pulling from some of the things that, of course, had inspired him throughout the years. A lot of his books are based on pre-existing elements. Yeah, and then he just kind of goes through the motions of his books are all very, very similar at times. They have a lot of the same beats in each one. But, I think one of the biggest things that really stands out about the Goosebumps is like he did know how to write to keep young adults reading, and he did have a great cover artist in Tim Jacobus who would create these excellent covers that would, make you want to get them and read them. And so I think that combination of the two really appealed to people in the 90s when these were coming out. And it did generate a whole bunch of readers. So regardless of whether you want to say R.L. Stine's books are, quote unquote, good or not, good writing, I do think they did their job in that they influence a lot of young kids to read more and maybe write more. And I think that's really like Yeah, I mean, honestly, R.L. Stine has written a plenitude of books, and, yeah, I don't know. I give him credit for sticking with that. At one point he did try to branch out into writing more adult books. I think there was one that came out. I think it was called like Superstitious or Superstition or something like that. That was marketed as R.L. Stine's adult book. Superstitious is what it was. I remember my dad having it. I remember the cover. I remember, it had like a cat face on it. And I remember at one time trying to read it. My dad's like, no. That's not for you. That's not a kid's book. But I don't think he really did many other books for adults to branch out. So regardless, the man is still 80-something years old writing new Goosebumps books. So it's impressive. And anyway, ultimately what that leads us to is today's episode on Goosebumps from 2015, which was a new excursion into R.L. Stine's book series, kind of circumventing the TV show.
So how do you feel about, I don't know if you read a little bit on it, how do you feel about the missed opportunity of having in the mid-90s a George Romero Goosebumps movie?
I think it would have been cool.
Because he wrote a script. He wrote a script adapting Welcome to Dead House. It was rejected.
Yeah, I mean, some of Romero's best work is short stories, short moments that I think it could have been a good thing. I don't know how well he would have. I don't know, in terms of being for kids, how that would have turned out. But yeah, I think it would have been a cool idea. What we got and what we ended up getting in the Goosebumps series was, kind of, definitely watered down style kids show. It probably was not as, I don't know, as spooky sometimes as Are You Afraid of the Dark could be at that time. At least in my opinion. I don't know if the Goosebumps series ever got to that level. But it was still an interesting show. And then I think that ended in like 98. Am I right? Something like that?
It lasted 4 seasons.
Yeah.
I imagine from 95 to 98 and 99.
And then I don't think we really got anything else after that until this movie in 2015. There were some other R.L. Stine related things that came out. But not a Goosebumps live action show. And so the 2015 movie kind of went back to basics, and it said, what if we actually took Goosebumps as a book series and kind of made a cabin in the woods style movie for kids, or for adults as well that might have grown up with the books and the TV series. So I think that's what Goosebumps is striving to be. Something like a cabin in the woods, throwing everything at the viewer that they remember from the Goosebumps series and hoping that some of it sticks. Not only that, but you got Jack Black here as well, playing R.L. Stine, and a nice little tongue-in-cheek meta element to it. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the Goosebumps movie in a nutshell. That's where what all led to it. You'd never seen this one before, right?
No. Honestly, I don't know why I missed out on it, because I don't know when it was coming out. I was interested. I'm like, ooh, Goosebumps? Jack Black? This is going to be fun. And then I just never got around to it.
Never watched it. And then for me, I actually saw, I believe I saw it at the drive-in. It was probably Goosebumps and then some other, like, more adult horror movie that were playing together during, like, the Halloween drive-in fest that they have. That's what I think, anyway. So I did see it at one point, but it's been a while. It would have been in 2015 when I saw it last. So it's been, and I didn't actually realize that it's been that long either. Almost, it's been
close to 10 years.
Yeah, I know. It's been almost a decade since this movie came out. So I didn't realize that it's been that long since this movie has actually come out. Time flies, I guess. All right. Before we get into Goosebumps anymore, let's take a break and talk about the beer that we got on the show. So we do have a nice little seasonal tie-in, at least in name, for the Halloween festivities.
And it's great, too, because the beer that you picked out today is from a brewery that, and one of my birthday shout-outs from our Fiden's Mule, called me a sloop drinking son of a bitch. And you said, happy birthday. So to spoil it, we got another sloop.
That's right. Sloop Brewing. Hopewell Junction, New York. I'm a big Sloop fan. I tried...
They always said that in cans with Fish Kill.
Yeah, they're from Hopewell Junction, I believe.
Fish Kill.
This says brewed and canned by Sloop Brewing, Hopewell Junction, New York.
Oh. The website says East Fish Kill.
They must be... They're out of the same area, but...
Come on! Get together. So you know what? On that alone, I don't think I can trust another beer from them.
That's right.
We're done.
This, I mean, Sloop, I like Sloop. I think they do a pretty good job. They make a lot of IPAs. We've had a lot on the show previously. I do try to get as many new releases as I can from them, but they do have a lot of new releases, honestly.
Yeah, they're constantly cranking out NEIPAs left and right.
Yeah.
And different hot mix varietals, too, which is, kind of also something for us, because even though we're not like the biggest, we drink this shit, but picking out some of the nuances of the hops just ain't for us. But it's nice when they be like, hey, this is the juice bomb with Matuka and Citra. Hey, this is a juice bomb with Matuka and Nelson. Hey, this is a juice bomb with Citra and Nelson. So he's and as you say always, the FOMO guy, it's like, gotta get it.
Yeah, that definitely does do that with all the top varietals. Well, with this one, I wanted to get it because the name is Liquid Sorcery, so it ties in with the Halloween season. Clearly, they did mean it to be a little bit of like a Halloween tie-in, because on the can, they've got witches' hats and broomsticks and cauldrons and bats. So it ties in with the Halloween season. They also make the No Pumpkin, which is another one of those seasonal tie-ins to say, hey, we know you like your pumpkin ales, but fuck that. Seasonal straight up IPA.
Seasonal NEIPA.
Yeah. And I don't think we actually have done No Pumpkin on here, have we? No. I think I've had it, but I don't.
You buy it like once a year, but then we never have it.
Yeah.
So I don't think I've actually ever had it myself. So
yeah, I don't think we've had it on here. But yeah, this one is this is a nice NEIPA because it does have some hop varietal in it that I'm not quite sure what it is. It doesn't list them, but it does have a nice unique flavor to it. It's giving off very melony vibes, almost sort of like a cotton candy-ish flavor as well at times, and it does have a distinctive flavor to it that am enjoying quite a bit. I think it's a really solid NEIPA from them, and I think that's really all you can ask for. Like, again, they always make really good, solid NEIPAs. Sometimes those don't really do too much to get out of the hole that is IPAs, where it's hard to discern the difference between them. But in this particular case for Liquid Sorcery, I do think that this one does enough where it's like, yeah, that's distinctive. That does have a unique flavor profile to it. And I think the candy element to it, the cotton candy, kind of goes well with the Halloween season as well. Kind of leads you in there. So I enjoy this. I think it's really good. But you?
Thank you for kind of putting a finger on like the taste profile. I do like it. Like, again, we will always say when we do these Sloop beers, there's never a bad one. It's more about, is it different? Do they do enough to differentiate from the rest of their quality NEIPAs? You know, again, they're always really good, but it's kind of like a brewer at this point. It's like a brewer's, IPA, and the fact that, like, hey, can you discern what's different on this? And I think this one definitely does enough to stick out and give it a noticeable, difference from the rest of their NEIPAs. Cotton candy is, like a good way to put it. It's sugary, but not like an overly sugariness, and the flavor profile to it is kind of like a mild, melon taste that you would get from like a kind of like cotton candy, just like an overall sugary wateriness to it, but not like, it's not too watery. What the hell? Honeydew is another thing I was kind of thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
Just like a very mild, fruitiness to it. There is like an orange peel zestiness to it, like you expect in a NEIPA. But it does have like a nice little, as you said, candied, melon to it. And like honeydew, it's like, it's different enough. Like, and this is a damn good NEIPA. I like it a lot. It's very crisp, easy to drink. I'd say if you see it, try it.
Definitely. I think it's interesting too, because again, like I said, they're trying to tie in with the Halloween season, but it has a very like bright pastel-y can to it that kind of puts it at odds with the Halloween season, but still.
That's what they always do, though.
I know, yeah.
It's great. On their website, with all the clouds that they got, they have a little biplane flying in the background.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think they make really good IPAs all the time. They're very consistent with what they do. And Liquid Sorcery is no different. It definitely is a very good NEIPA. And I think that if you like that sort of style and you want something a little bit unique to it, this one is one to pick up. Really interesting.
They have on their website signing up for an internship program.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I'll sign up. Quit my job and go down there.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's get into Goosebumps. So, I guess the first thing I want to point out about Goosebumps is that this movie has a lot of whimsy to it. Very right away. Right? Probably in the credit sequence. You get smacked with an oboe and bassoon combination in the soundtrack where you're like, oh, it's one of those movies. So you're kind of already, with that level of whimsy, you're kind of already starting off with the feeling that this is going to be something like, it's definitely not going to be a mature movie, right? It's not going to be one that's marketed mainly to adults. It's definitely still a kids young to young adult movie, and here and there it kind of plays on the adult side of humor, but it's mostly a kids movie. It doesn't, I don't know if I would say it hits the Disneyfication level, but it's close. Yeah,
it's
really close. Yeah, and it certainly is not one of the, like, now we have there's another Goosebumps TV series that just came out that is like a little bit more mature. It seems more like it's written for teens rather than for kids or probably like elementary school age children. But here, this one, even though it does have high schoolers as the main protagonists, they're like, what, like 16 they're supposed to be, I think, something like that, 15, 16. It still has the feeling that it's for younger children, and I think that might be one of the issues with the movie that I have right off the bat, is that the feeling that it is so written for younger children kind of takes away from the element that it's supposed to be sort of nostalgic for older adults watching, because I feel like people that are going to get the most out of the Goosebumps franchise are going to be ones that I think have read the books in the past, and now they're watching, as older adults, watching this Goosebumps movie to get that nostalgia factor. And I think that the film has sort of a weird relationship with those types of people that would be watching. It really wants to have kids as its main audience, but then it wants to pull in those people that would be coming from their childhood reading these books. And I don't know that it really meets that requirement to and get those older people pulled into the movie.
I think it does in some aspects. I can understand, it not being completely 90s style Goosebumps, because again, it's for essentially like for these kids, the kids that grew up with it, it's for their kids now.
Mm-hmm.
And you're trying to also make something that's nostalgic for, that goes, suits the kids' taste, but also, will hook the parents in, get them to remember, have a good talk, and kind of make it a family-friendly, where everyone can be pleased. But the film, as you said, the film doesn't really succeed in that too much, because it is a little bit too whimsical. It's a little bit too much, these are supposed to be like 17-year-old kids, and they're running around like it's the 4th grade, like, my name's Chip, and I haven't hit puberty yet, and, oh, there's a girl, oh, girls, hey, what are you, oh, stop, things are happening in a whimsy way, whimsy, there's a billion things that happen in this movie, it's like, you should have been that,
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought
like literally like Jack, and also too, sorry, but like Jack Black being in here is like enough. Was it like almost enough though to kind of sue it, because he does a great job. But I mean, as you were saying though, it definitely is totally struggles, because the humor in it's very much like earnest. It's very much slapstick, goofy, and is very hit or miss in parts.
I think that the humor itself, it doesn't really know what it wants to be, and so it kind of like, it actually like a good comparison is when Amy Ryan's character, who's the kid's mother, Dylan Minnette, his character's mother, his name is Zach in the movie, when she's being the vice principal and doing the whole like first day of school thing, and they ask her to do a speech, and she's like, oh, I hope you kids are excited for the dance. I know we can't stop twerking about it. And like that joke right there kind of sets you up, and that's early on in the movie, it kind of sets you up for like, oh, this is going to be the humor. In that scenario, she's supposed to be sounding lame, but at the same time, that's kind of the level of the jokes at times in Goosebumps. They don't really hit. There's a couple that do. There's a couple that I thought were, pretty funny, but for the most part, they don't really hit that much. And I think one of the, though I think Jack Black does a good job as R.L. Stine, for the most part, I wish that they would have let him run a little bit more wild, because he's a really good actor for children. School of Rock is a great example of him being a good
Actor for
of a great movie that can be for children, but also has that level of comedy that you can watch as an adult and still enjoy. Whereas in Goosebumps, he doesn't really get much of a chance to showcase that element. Of course, at first he's supposed to be like the spooky guy next door. He's supposed to be like, could be a serial killer next. I don't know. He could be abusing his daughter next door. And And then later on, he gets to kind of come out and do a little bit more of the funny business. But I don't think that they let him go that far, to the point where, you know, it seems like he's a little bit underutilized, even though he does do a good job at what he's being asked to do. I think, like what you said too about the film presenting a lot of things that are like really dangerous, where you're like, they would have been dead. They would have been killed.
There's a like theme park that no one talks about when Hannah just shows up and constantly is flicking the lights on. No one's be like, who's the asshole who turned the lights on in the theme park that was stopped Monday?
I know.
Like, what's going on here?
It's hilarious, like that they turn on all the lights in the theme park and someone's not looking at the electric meter going like, why is this thing fucking running 3-time multiplier on this thing? You know,
what is Madison, Delaware is the deadest town ever. Like all these things are happening. A kid's being beaten in front of like the lit window. No one cares. No.
Yeah.
Listen, that's how we do things down here in, you know, Joe Biden and Aubrey Plaza State. We, you know, settle business ourselves, you know.
The other funny thing too about it is like, you know, yeah, even so, this does have the Hollywood high school sort of thing where it's like, yeah, this is a dead end town. No one wants to go to Delaware. The fucking high school is
a fucking college campus. Yeah. These people need to go to like our high school. It's like, oh, I hate these dead end towns. It's like, yeah, there's like 50 kids in your graduating class. That's where you're supposed to be, not in fucking the school from She's All That.
Some of the dangerous things that I did find funny that, you know, I was surprised that they actually showed in a kids movie like this is like you said, when they go to the theme park, this abandoned theme park, and they climb up on a fucking Ferris wheel that's been abandoned, that's rusting and basically from The Last of Us, like vines creeping all over it.
In fact, I think I heard Joel yell, Ellie.
And like they climb up it and just sit there like staring out at the horizon.
And you can tell it's good. Again, these are 17-year-old kids, and they just sit there and like they're a Christian, you know, like a Hallmark movie. You like macaroni and cheese? I like macaroni and cheese. Oh, me too.
That's a great reference, because a lot of times the writing on this movie does really feel like it's a Hallmark movie. There's a great moment at the beginning of the movie where it's clear that Zach has lost his father. And he's watching, you know, he's watching
his 1998 camcorder, you know, in 1080p though, you know, video. Instead of uploading it to his computer or anything, he's still got it saved on his memory card in the camcorder, so he can take it out and flip the side, you know, the screen and be like, "Here's Dad teaching me how to throw a curveball."
Throwing ball, playing in the yard. And then,
so how's Dad dead? Doesn't matter. No one knows.
No one knows. It's that, you know, that sentimental kids movie where it's like, I don't know, he just slipped away. You know, one time he's just there and then he's gone. Or you know, a lot of them use just like the generic like car accident too. You know.
They don't even do that. They're just like, yeah, he's been dead for a year.
Yeah. You know, with the car accident thing too, like I find it funny because like movies like this don't really take into consideration like car accidents are probably most of the time pretty grisly. Yeah, I held your dad's hand as he bled out and said, I don't want to die. And
with his right leg ripped off,
yeah,
jaw.
You know, yes, car accidents quite grisly. Yet no, you know, it wasn't just a quick passing. He got thrown from the car, jaw ripped off, as he skidded face first.
In fact, he slammed into a telephone pole too and ricocheted off, and that's why they found him in the field.
Yeah,
you know, 50 feet from the car.
Yeah, they don't go into that in this movie. It's just dad died. I don't know. But what I like about it too is it has that issue where so they find a picture, right? They pull a picture out because they've moved too. This movie has that too. It's like overhead drone shot of them moving in with one really small
You all. I know.
Smallest trailer you can get from U-Haul.
But before they were talking about, being dadless, I'm like, was that fucking U-Haul and then moving? Dad better be at the new house, like
With the other U-Haul. Yeah, with the big one.
And the moving crew be like, yeah, I got all this shit to throw in here, but they're like,
Yeah, so they move it like an entire house with like that one small trailer. But anyway, so they're unpacking, right? They just moved in, and they've got like the photograph of his dad and Zach standing together, and Zach goes really like all quiet, like stares off in the distance, and then they're like, oh, and then he leaves, and then Jillian Bell's character's like, so how's he doing? It's like, how do you think? He just fucking disassociated for 5 minutes. How do you think he's doing about it? You know,
you can hear Vietnam music playing like as he's just staring off like Zach. You can just hear like Fortunate Son playing like
Yeah, it has those moments of those Hallmark moments of like really dumb.
He's a teenager.
Yeah. He'll be okay.
I'll be okay. I'm going out to find your new dad. This vice principal job. Let's say this vice principal job is not going to, be enough.
Yeah. So yeah, the movie has those beats of like, it's again, it's two strikes against it. It's got all that whimsy, and it's got all of that Hallmark style emotion that honestly does take up way too much time of the beginning of the movie, because it's probably it's a good 30 minutes before literally anything involving Goosebumps itself occurs. Like, yes, you do see the next door neighbor, Jack Black, and basically he's like, do not come over here.
And nobody's like, oh, that's just Mr. Shivers. He's an asshole. We're like, the whole neighborhood's like, what's going on over there?
Yeah.
That's just the four people that live on that block,
That's just Mr. Shivers. Arrested but not convicted twice of domestic assault. Yeah, no, they don't care. Everybody minds their own business here. There's a fence involved, so when there's a fence, you just stick to your own side of it.
Very good depiction of the police in this movie.
Hilarious. That's
John Saxon would not stand for this in this town.
The police is one of the areas where I was talking about that I actually thought is actually funny, because it's hilarious when they go over the first time when Zach does call them, because he's like, oh, I think there's been a domestic assault with this guy and his daughter, and they go over and she's training as a new police officer, and she basically says, you're under arrest like immediately when they open the door. Fucking hilarious, because it does, like, even in 2015, very, very prescient of how horribly staffed the police office is.
I mean, no, it's great though. Like, reminds me a lot of the one, I can't remember who played her, but the cop from Scream 4.
Oh yeah.
Dewey. But but it's funny too, because they do have like a couple of really good jokes in there. Like, see, it's just my sound system. I'm an audiophile, surround sound. Not arrest. No, not that. They don't say.
Yeah, you're a waterfile.
Oh no, I mean,
those are definitely the best parts. The parts that are the most risque that probably should, Jack Black could have done a lot more with too. I mean, I think they do a really good job as the police officers, but those are the moments that I really liked out of it, because they were genuinely funny instead of like, haha, that's a kid's joke funny, You're
in big trouble. You're in big trouble for, calling in a fake police report. 3 years in prison. No, it's just a citation.
Yeah. I think that those are the times where it really works. Other times, the comedy just isn't there. But anyway, I think like it takes way too long to actually get to the Goosebumps element to it. It does a lot of building of like, yep, here's Zach, here's his family, here's him moving into the community, here's his friendship with Champ and having a little heart-to-heart with Hannah, and being the fucking male savior too, which is hilarious when that he sees her and he thinks that she's like screaming, so he thinks she's being assaulted, and he's just like, the heroic music kicks in, and he's like just jumps out the fucking window basically, jumps out the window, kicks down the door. It's pretty hilarious actually, but I think it just takes too long to get into the whole element to it, which I think leads to the problem being that this film is too long, an hour and 45 minutes. It could have been a nice truncated 90 minutes. I think it just runs far too long for what it does, especially after you start getting into it. And I think had the film started maybe 10, 15 minutes earlier on its Goosebumps bend, you wouldn't be so sick of it by the end of the movie, where now you're getting like bombarded with like all these references to different Goosebumps books. Like, oh yeah, there's the fucking Invisible Boy, and there's Attack of the Giant Mantises and stuff like that. Because it is very much like Cabin in the Woods style thing, where it's just like, let's just take every single book that we can think of with the Goosebumps name on it and just use those characters and then throw them into the crowd somewhere. Even if you don't actually see them attacking or doing anything specifically, if you see them in the crowd, you're like, you can sit there and be like, oh, I remember that book. I remember that one. And it kind of has the same idea as like a Cabin in the Woods, where it's like, oh, yeah, I love zombies. Like, so you got them in here, and you.
Whoa, no, they're ghouls.
Yeah. And you've got werewolves and vampires. They're all in here. It has that same dynamic to it, but I feel like because it does start to feel like it's running long, the amount of nostalgia you get from it is lessened because the film just takes too long to get going. I don't know if you feel that way too, but I just think that it really should have been a 90-minute movie.
No, it definitely should have. Because I think the fact that they spend too much time building up like an Exorcist believer, a bunch of nonsense that you don't care about. Like, you don't need 30 minutes to exposit upon, like, he's moved in, he's the new kid. Like, you don't need all of that. When you finally get to the whole R.L. Stine bit, like, you find out that Jack Black, Mr. Shivers, he is R.L. Stine. And then he has all these books, and they're locked up under key. And it's because if you open them up, they release what's in the book, because when R.L. Stine writes books, they come to life. That's a great idea. Like, that is, like, a terrific idea. The bare bones premise of this movie is a fucking great idea. R.L. Stine's your neighbor, and he keeps his books under lock and key because they're not just more than just his imagination. They happen in real life. Until a little shit, ruins it all. And so, that premise itself is a great idea. And then the film is very haphazard in how it's executed, because with like some of them like coming out, like the whole Abominable Snowman part's like fun, but that's like, that also drags on for way too long too. That's like 20 minutes long, where it should have been like, a quick little 10-minute jump. But the fact that they're going from like the house and then to the hockey rink, and they're still dicking around on the hockey rink, and he's hiding up in the scoreboard, and there's candy and this, like, there's just like, too much bullshit. So it's like, it's cool to see that, reference if you actually read the book. Like I said, the idea itself, I really do commend, because I do think on its own, it's a great idea. I just think it's not executed, in the best way. And the fact that, as I was saying, the fact too that he calls back like to everything is like great, is also great too, because it's like, man, R.L. Stine did write like a lot of like 50s style like sci-fi horror too, like the Blob, the Mantis, and all this other crap, not just traditional spookiness. So that was really cool to see too.
Yeah,
I mean, mini Twilight Zone episode.
And honestly, the film does a really good job of cherry picking the stuff that from the books. Some of the stuff that it grabs are actually not like the main things that you think of when you think of Goosebumps. So like, the giant mantis is not really probably something that I think of when I think of Goosebumps. So it does a really good job of picking out various stories that Stine has done in the past, and I really like that about it. But you're right. It just takes too long. And I do feel like it just, I don't know, it loses some steam in trying to set up all of this stuff that really, I think, is expected because it's also generic, like kid moving in, kid not having a dad, kid falling for the girl next door. It would have been more funny and more fitting if it was just like, all this bullshit, we're going to skip over it. Basically, like, like put in like a little text box from the book. This like, this exposition. We don't need to go into it and just kind of skip over it. Because it's also generic that it really doesn't need to be said for another 30 minutes in this movie. But with that said, I do think that Goosebumps is almost like an ego jerking for R.L. Stine, because it's always like referencing like, oh yeah, R.L. Stine sold 400 million books worldwide. R.L. Stine rivals Stephen King. And there's that funny part where Jack Black's like, Steve King wishes he sold as many. Tell you about Steve King. Which is,
I don't think it is though, because I don't think he didn't have anything to do with like the writing. So
no, it didn't.
But no, you're right. It is weird for like these 17-year-old kids who have like don't know shit about R.L. Stine because they haven't paid attention to it since the mid-90s. Like, oh yeah, that R.L. Stine, yeah, he sold what, 400 books? That's not cool.
Yeah,
like they wouldn't be able to pull that out.
I know.
Of their ass.
Yeah, I mean, I like that it's kind of ego stroking, and later on we do get to see a cameo from R.L. Stine, and he's like, "Hello, Mr. Stine," and Jack Black's like, "Hello, Mr. Black." Nice little subversion there, but yeah, it does feel like ego stroking for R.L. Stine, even though like you said, he didn't actually have a hand in writing this or anything like that. It's just more so just pointing out like, wow.
I think they did that just to sell more books. They probably like re-released a bunch of them during like that.
I think they actually wrote, and I don't think R.L. Stine wrote this either, but they did release like Slappy's Revenge, because Jack Black says in this is like Slappy's Revenge. It's a great title. They did release one called Slappy's Revenge after, like, as a tie-in to this movie. But yeah, I like, I think that for the most part the confluence of all of the different creatures in this movie does work pretty well. I just wish that it was not so extended, that it did a little bit better job of pacing, because I do think pacing is an issue in this movie, and that it didn't cater so much to a younger audience, because I think that when it does try to go for more adult humor at times, works really well. It's legitimately funny. It just needed more of that to kind of engage older viewers. What do you think about the CGI? There's a lot of big use of CGI in this movie.
But not bad. I think it's pretty good overall. Like, the blob looked really good. I mean, the only stupid part about that is, like, R.L. Stine's like, I'm sacrificing myself to the blob, and then he gets eaten by the blob. You're like, oh, he's gonna be dead. And he's just like sitting in like, jelly, like, hurry, finish the story. I think, the gnomes was like the weirdest one. I don't remember the gnome story. I don't think I read that one. So to have like the gnomes like running around wasn't bad, but it looked good. But I mean, that was like just kind of weird.
Yeah, I think that the gnomes looked good at least. Probably the worst one to me is the werewolf and the abominable snowman.
Yeah.
Like the abominable snowman, obviously you can really tell that
looks like he belongs in Clay Fighter.
Yeah. Yeah, and the werewolf, especially when they have like the saliva drip on Jack Black's face, that one was quite noticeably not as up to snuff. But like the garden gnomes actually look really good. They're like very tactile. When they're breaking and stuff, like it looks like it's actual ceramic.
And getting put back together, it looks real good.
Yeah, that looks good.
Slappy looks good.
Yep.
I mean, I think it was a mixture of CGI and an actual dummy. Slappy looked real good. I loved the Slappy mobile just because it's like reminded me so much of Christine.
Yeah,
like, it was just missing like the Carpenter score, like dum dum dum
And what do you think about the whole Hannah is a monster sort of thing written into the universe?
It's okay, but it's stupid. I mean, it makes sense, like, because he's a loner. You can't believe R.L. Stine. He's in this movie, in this world, he's incel. So the fact that he would ever come close to touching anyone's boobs, I find that hard to believe.
Well, he doesn't have time. He's touching a typewriter.
Yeah,
he's writing a book every day. So
yeah, so like he doesn't have time to procreate. So the fact that he's got a daughter, that's a lot. I'm fine with it, but I mean it's kind of stupid because it ends with like the whole like power of love. Like, I don't care that she's a ghost. It's like you should care that she's a ghost because she's not real, and she's a creation of a book of his. So she's not real. And that would have been a great little lesson about, especially aiming to the kids, like, this is how you learn to let go. So important to remember to learn to let go. But at the end, because they got to do a Deus Ex Machina, it's like, oh, look who's alive at the end. Oh, I wrote another book, and here she is.
I think you need to know that's coming, because you're just like, why does he just write a fucking book where it's like, she's not a monster? Like, because they're writing the ending, they're saying, send all the monsters back. It's like, well, Hannah's not a monster, so she gets left out of it. But yeah, you're right. I think it would have been really kind of meaningful if at the end she did go away, and it's like, yeah,
you gotta live with it now
because
you gotta live for them for the rest of your life now.
She's not real, something like that, or like we made her up because she was helpful for us, but she's not real, and we can't like use her in that way. We gotta make real, meaningful relationships. But no, we're gonna rewrite all that and just have her come back. And then later on,
he owes her that dance.
Yeah, and then later on, Zach's gonna go over to Stine and be like, "Can you write another book? She gets bigger. Make sure she gets bigger boobs next time.
Can you write another book where she stopped being such a bitch?"
Yeah, yeah. So,
you know what? You gotta take her back. We went to the movies and she wouldn't do the popcorn trick with me. I'm tired of this. I'm going to college.
There's no taking it back. He fucking burned that book. There's no taking it back.
Which that was funny though. He burns it. He throws it in the trash can. And he's like, "Whoa!" He's like kicking it down. Like, "Oh, jeez."
She should have just burned up.
Oh shit! I just want to know why everyone's getting sucked back into the final written book is like getting melted away, but she gets like force ghosted off away, like goodbye. It's whimsical, and
she's a monster.
Because again, she should have been like horribly ripped asunder too, like dragged to hell basically. Which that was also too like another part I was thinking about when like Slappy's getting ripped, and he's like, "I'll see you again later." And it's like, well, if this is a regular movie, he'd be like, "I see you in hell," But no.
Yep.
What happened to was that the kid at the end that was like in like a brace that got like lifted away by the bug?
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
See?
Yeah.
You got nothing to fear.
That's everything. Yeah, no, you'll be okay. Even if every bone in your body's broken, you'll be okay. It's a Goosebumps movie. You'll be fine.
Where are you taking me? Oh, am I going to die? You're going to detention. We're not detention. That Ferris wheel at the end that goes ass over a tea kettle after the Blob and the Mantis like shove into it, and they're fine. That I was astounded. Like I'm like, if this was Final Destination, these kids would have been dead like 20 minutes in.
You don't think that's how physics work?
Not at all.
All of a sudden, they just like create a spinning top that rolls through town. You know what that did make me think of though is that this small town's homeowners insurance is fucked.
Now,
no one is going to be shelling out any money for this town. Is more fucked than Florida.
They would vote. They would vote out R.L. Stine. Like, you got to get out of here. My homeowners insurance, I can't get coverage anymore because
now quadruple. Yeah. Like, you had what come through your town? A fucking abominable snowman?
Yeah. R.L. Stine's Goosebumps story is homeowners burn him alive.
Yeah, that's the adult version of Goosebumps. It's like the aftermath. Like the Goosebumps adult version is like just takes place after all the events of Abominable Snowman of Pasadena, where everything's been destroyed. Basically the whole book is like chapter after chapter of them contacting different insurance companies and be like, no, Abominable Snowman's not in our policy.
Even the general won't cover me.
Yeah, that's the horror. That's the real horror.
You know what the real horror is? Another fucking stupid school dance where apparently everybody in town goes, and the parents too. Are you fucking kidding me? Why are all the parents at a semi?
They've got a professional nightclub DJ.
Yeah, like your dad when he was DJing our parties in school wasn't up there like bam, fucking like.
No, he wasn't spinning discs. No,
Skrillex,
No. Yeah, I know that is funny as well with the whole school is that.
I love to retreat to the closet, retreat to the supply. Oh yeah, retreat to the supply rooms. They all got to run back and.
Yeah. I mean, I guess let's give the movie a rating because I think we covered most of my topics that I had. So on a scale of 0 to 10, Ken Marino being underutilized, what would you give Goosebumps 2015?
What's he also in?
He's been in a bunch of stuff. But I mean,
he's giving me Mean
Children's Hospital is one of the big ones that he's in.
He was giving me the Mean Girls feel of the gym teacher.
Yeah,
you'll get pregnant, and you will get AIDS, and then you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, he's pretty good in everything that he's in. So in this one, he definitely gets short shrift here. Yeah. So what would you give Goosebumps?
I give it a 6.5. It's a fun enough movie. It's not offensive. It's definitely watchable. It's a nice, little nostalgia trip, to kind of see all the R.L. Stine inventions and creations. The premise is great. I think the idea of R.L. Stine, living in this world and the books he writes are being kept under lock and key because when he writes, they come to life is a great idea. I just think it's underutilized, it is underfocused on because we have to deal with teen, I need to get my dick wet drama in a Christian-friendly way. And it's kind of annoying. Jack Black, by far, is like the main reason you need to watch this movie, too, because Jack Black is easily the best part of this movie. He's a lot of fun. As you said, he doesn't get as much to do to be zany as he could have been and should have been. But when he is there, he's great, he's fun, and he's engaging. You can't stop looking at him. So, I mean, I think that alone, the premise and nostalgia is worth to watch. But as you said, an hour and 45 minutes, this film is like 10, 15 minutes too long. It's not focused enough. The humor is very hit or miss, sometimes too Disney-ified. If you're watching this on your own without kids, it's probably going to be much harder to watch just because it's going to be more taxing. It's a good idea. I think it's, for the most part, decently done. I just think, it's definitely a missed opportunity. It could have been a lot better and a lot more. So 6.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I agree with that. 6.5 out of 10 for me as well. I think that this is a fun movie when you're watching it. It has a nostalgia factor to it because you can kind of point out all of those different books that all the different monsters are from, especially if you've read them before. It kind of brings back probably some monsters that you haven't even thought of. Things that you were like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that was a Goosebumps book, or things that just weren't really like prevalent in your head. At the same time, though, I do think that this suffers from like the issue of too Disneyfied, too sometimes immature, not willing to go a little bit darker and deeper with kids shows and kids movies. It's not particularly scary either, which I think is kind of interesting, that it doesn't really like even try to be scary, at least at times. But other than that, I mean, I think it's enjoyable. It's not something that I really want to come back to that often. I do find that the length of it is one thing that really puts me off. It's just like, it's just too long. Just drags on at times. But in terms of being a good Goosebumps adaptation or bringing Goosebumps into another live action movie, I think it does a good job. I think it does, it's kind of a unique approach to the Goosebumps series, and in that it doesn't actually try to adapt a specific book. It is its own entity, and it does its own thing, and I think it has a good idea behind it, that R.L. Stine created worlds and monsters, and in this case, he literally brought them out and brought them to life. So I think it's a really interesting idea, done fairly well, and I think kids will enjoy it. But adults, I think, may find it to be a little bit too taxing sometimes. So that's why I give it a 6.5. All right, that concludes Halloweenies. Hope you enjoyed all of our episodes on Halloween movies and stuff that ties into Halloween. Hope you've been having a good Halloween season.
So real quick,
yeah,
Slappy is supposed to be based off of the dummy and the voice too from the 1978 film Magic, which stars Anthony Hopkins and Burgess Meredith and directed by Richard fucking Attenborough.
Wow.
Score done by Jerry Goldsmith. How the hell have I never heard of this movie before in my life?
Don't know it either. No. But that's a really specific thing. Inspiration. It's like that particular movie is what inspired Slappy.
So I was looking at the Wikipedia for like the Slappy, and that's in there, and I'm like, Magic, what the hell? It says Anthony Hopkins' voice was the inspiration for him, and I'm like, well, that's got to be something that people know. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, there's a bunch of big people on this movie, and it's not like it did bad or anything either. So it's kind of like, how the hell have I never heard of this? Richard Attenborough directed a film about a fucking puppet, and psychological horror too.
Yeah, that's weird. I did not know that. Interesting tidbit.
Learn something new every day.
Yeah. So I think we're probably going to take a 1 week break, right? And then come back and do Mean Girls.
It's time.
It's time. We've already got the beer lined up for it. We're ready to do Mean Girls. Mean Girls. We can tie it into the holiday season as well. It's time. It's time to do it. Gonna have fun. So yeah, and the Mean Girls will then kind of segue us into probably the Thanksgiving episode and ultimately our holiday Christmas episodes, which we're coming up on again. So we will take a 1 week break after Halloween and then be back and pretty much be full steam ahead again until after the holidays. So it's gonna be a good time on Blood Black Rub Podcast. If you're a loyal listener. Well, thanks for listening to Blood and Black Rum Podcast. Hope you enjoyed our Halloween season. We are on pretty much any podcast app that you can think of. We're on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, home base at Anchor.fm, which is now Spotify. You can subscribe to us, leave us a nice review. That always helps us out. We're on Facebook and Twitter. Search for us on there, Blood and Black Rum Podcast. We have an email address at bloodandblackrumpodcast@gmail.com. You can write to us, let us know what you like, what you don't like, what movies you want us to cover. Keep that in consideration. And you can donate to us on our Patreon page or on our Spotify page. Anything you donate, we'll put back towards beer. So thank you in advance for that. Hope to see you back after the Halloween season is over as we cover Mean Girls and tie it into the whole holiday season. And until then,
take care.